Wildcat Basketball Weekly, presented by Hughes Federal Credit Union, home of the official U of A debit card. Get yours today at hughesfcu.org.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Weekly with head coach Sean Miller. Cats are home Saturday night to take on the Baylor Bears, 9 p.m. tip-off at McHale Center. And Coach, this is also finals week. It's also the first time really since the season got started you've had multiple days when you're not preparing for another team. So how much fundamentals has gone into practice this week versus preparation for Baylor?
Well, it's definitely a little bit of both, Brian. This is a week where our players have a lot going on. You know, off the court, if you think about just being a student, you know, the pressure of the final paper, the final exams, the pressure of what grade you're going to get, all that really weighs on every student that's in final exam week. But for our players, you know, the second part of it is the focus on our practices. So I think for us as a coaching staff, you know, priority one is just to make sure that each of those guys is okay and all set off the court, has enough time to take care of what they do academically. And then, you know, coming to practice takes care of itself. But you're right, I think just a stretch without traveling, because we've played 5 games away from home. And the 2 recent games weren't trips of, you know, 1-hour flights. They're different time zones, early starts. So, you know, that can all take its toll on you. I think for us to be able to take a deep breath, stay here for 5 or 6 days, have some solid practices, especially on the heels of Alabama, where we can learn a lot from that game, and then obviously preparing for a very talented big game here on Saturday night against Baylor.
You've talked about the importance of your team blocking out on rebounding. And so for the fan, what goes into blocking out for all the players on the court rebounding?
Well, you know, there's a couple of ways to think about it. You know, one is the guy that you're responsible for standing right by the basket, happens to be, you know, really tall or big. And, you know, in that case, it's just you have to almost like look at it from the perspective of, I'm going to block this guy out. I might not get the rebound, but my job is to not let him get it because he's right there. You know, the second way is you have great athletes running from almost the college three-point line in. And think of Rondé Hollis Jefferson, you know, and those guys sometimes can be the most dangerous because they're athletic and have a running start. So you have to be responsible for just, you know, stepping out and making contact. If you do it further away from the basket, again, it's not easy for that player then to come in and tip one in. In both cases, at the end of the day, job is to get the ball. So blocking out, you know, I think, yeah, keep your man from getting it, but you have to turn and then run in. And then, you know, the last part is, and I'll use Kadeem Allen as an example, where he doesn't have anybody to block out because the guy that he's covering, he doesn't rebound. He goes back on the shot. So what does he do? He runs in every time and either helps a teammate or he goes and gets those tough rebounds as a guard. And Dylan Smith on this year's team does it the best of anyone, but we need everybody that's on the court, all 5 players, to think in those terms because that's something that's very meaningful towards our future success.
Life is what you make it, full of endless possibilities and opportunities at every corner. In our fast-paced world, Hughes helps you with what matters most, delivering dreams, adding value to your life. Where you bank matters for you, your family, and your future. We are local, rooted in the community you call home. Join us on the journey of life. Hughes Federal Credit Union, ranked the #1 credit union in Arizona by Forbes.
Wildcat Basketball Weekly continues, presented by Hughes Federal Credit Union, ranked by Forbes as the #1 credit union in Arizona. Learn more at hughesfcu.org/best credit union.
Chase Jeter is coming off a career-high 19 points at Alabama, and folks that may have looked at his stats at Duke and now see his excellent start here at Arizona say, wow, he's a different player. Why the growth? What has allowed Chase to become as effective as he is?
Well, you know, Chase is in his 4th year in college. He's dealt with some injuries. You know, there's a lot of players that go to an elite program as freshmen and don't get as big of an opportunity. And, you know, sometimes change is good. I think for Chase coming back to the West where he's from, having a year last year where it wasn't about performance in games, it was more about, you know, getting his confidence, being healthy, practicing hard every day, learning our system, and just really working on his game so that when his time comes this year, that he would be ready. And he had a really solid year, meaning last year, but the spring and the summer and the fall, he's worked hard. He's tireless in his effort. He's gotten bigger and stronger, and I think he's a very confident player, which is a big part of this. So Chase, if you consider what he does for our team defensively, he's rebounding almost 8 a game. His field goal percentage is really in and around 60. And, he's about 12 points a game. He's one of the best front court players in my mind that plays in the Pac-12. And I can't be more excited about his future and happy for him. He's also, Brian, as you know, an incredible leader, a bright student, and he brings all those things to our locker room and to our practice court every day.
Baylor Bears come to town on Saturday night. Scott Drew's built a solid program down there. They're a good team year in and year out. What are their strengths that the Wildcat fans will see this Saturday night?
Well, they mix their defenses. They play a 2-3 zone, and they're very tall, long, got great size, kind of like Syracuse does, Washington does, and we have to be ready for that. They'll also mix in man-to-man, so it's the change of defenses where we have to be efficient and execute against both. Shot blocking, one of the best in the country, whether they're in man-to-man or zone. So shots around the basket, players driving have to be smart when to pass, when to take a shot. And, defensively, a lot like Alabama, they have balanced scoring and a lot of different players on a given night that can beat you. So it's quite a challenge. I would say it's our biggest challenge to date at home. And it's a big game. You have the Big 12 visiting the Pac-12. You have a very solid, excellent program, like you mentioned. And I think these are the games that everybody wants to see as a fan and be in as a player. And clearly it's up to us to be ready.
3 games left in the non-conference portion of the season before the holiday break. Is there one thing in particular that you'd like to see out of your team over these next 3 games?
I just think steady improvement. We're too early on just to pinpoint one thing. We can get better across the board. And really, if you look at our players, those guys can really grow and prepare and be better in the role that we currently have for them as we move forward. Once we get through this week and the Baylor game ends, then it's really a several-week period of time with it's just basketball before the holidays. And that's a time where again, we really focus on improvement. So I think just across the board, Brian, being a steady team, as you well know, being around our guys, we have a terrific group of kids, and they work very hard. They care about winning. They try to do what we ask of them. And as long as that attitude stays, we're going to continue to grow and get better.
All right, look forward to a big one on Saturday night. Wildcats and the Baylor Bears, 9 p.m. tip-off at McHale Center. And we'll see you next time on Wildcat Weekly.
Thank you for watching Wildcat Basketball Weekly, presented by Hughes Federal Credit Union, home of the free U of A Visa debit card. Get yours today at hughesfcu.org, federally insured by NCUA.